Hey folks, welcome back to the Flipside. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And this is our top 5 two-player games or games that we feel play very well at 2 players.
Yep. Creme de la creme.
There you have it.
I cannot lie.
I cannot lie. No. I am not a crook.
That's right.
And so we both kind of separately came up with 15 games. We had to whittle them down to 10. If you went over to the Dice Tower and watched our bottom 5, you will know that we said there that any one of those 15 could technically make our top 10 at any given moment. These are all great games. My average weight for this entire list from all 10 was 1.96, with my heaviest being a 2.36 and my lightest being a 1.46.
I can't believe that was your heaviest.
Yeah, it's my heaviest, man.
My average was almost within a point of yours.
I ain't a brainiac like you is.
2.99 was my average.
What?
My lowest was 1.97.
Your lowest is my average.
I know. In my top 5, I guarantee my average is 3.6.
No. My average 1.96. I'm pretty sure my top 5 is lower than my average across.
Wow.
5, 4, and 3 are going to be super light.
Well, here my lowest on this is 2.81 on this half. So we're not going to have any more crossovers.
It feels so inadequate.
No.
My number 5 is a great 2-player game with a very strong Japanese theme around it. Each player takes on the role of a school of Kung Fu masters. And this one's called Onitama. This is if you have a friend that enjoys playing...
I don't have any friends.
Yeah, this is... If you have a friend that enjoys playing chess, not necessarily that they are totally enthralled with chess, but that they enjoy playing chess and they like having those moves that you can do over across the board, and each piece is kind of restricted to those moves. If you have somebody that likes games like that, Onitama is probably where you would want to go if you're trying to get them to get deeper into the hobby. Because you basically have only 5 moves out of, I want to say that there's 15 or 20 moves that come in the base game, and then they have multiple expansions that give you more moves. But you have 5 moves that are the only 5 moves that you use in the entire course of each game. And basically what you're trying to do is you're either trying to get your master onto the seat of your opponent's house, or they're trying to get their master on your seat, or you're just trying to eliminate all of the guys. You're trying to eliminate, the master by taking him out. You're either trying to do that, or you're trying to get your master onto the seat of the other person's school. And you're doing that by using the same 5 moves. You start with 2, the other person starts with 2, and then you have 1 sitting out here in the middle. Whenever you use one of your moves, you place it, you replace it with the one that's in the middle, then they move, and they have to replace. So you're literally using the same 5 moves throughout the entire course of the game, and you're trying to achieve the same purpose. It's super crunchy. I'm actually surprised that the complexity rating is that small.
Yeah, there's some games that I agree with that. It's very thinky, and it can definitely be very strategic. Super strategic. But it's a really cool game.
It's not hard to play.
No.
It's just very thinky.
No, it's a really cool game. I really love that card mechanism.
Yeah.
All right, my number 5 is a very new to me game. New to me, not new to everybody else, I suppose. And Mel and I have now played it, I don't know, 6 times. I've played it once solo. I can guarantee, I've never played it with more than 2 players. I don't think I'll ever want to play it with more than 2 players. I think you could, and I think maybe 3 would be fine. But this is Burn Cycle by Chip Theory Games. In Burn Cycle,
Never played it.
In Burn Cycle, you are taking on the role of these robots. You have these evil corporations that have these tower-like buildings, if you want to figure that out. But they have 3 floors in them. Now, some of the missions, you'll only be on the first floor of a building or the first and second floor or whatever else. But you get a mission to go in, steal some data, and get out without dying or something like that. So you're sneaking around, you're trying to sneak through rooms, you're trying to unlock doors, you're trying to avoid the guards. You can fight the guards, but fighting is typically a last resort. You can fight them, you can stun them, you can do things like that, but typically it's a bad idea. Then you have this third robot, which is the command module that you both basically get to operate. And the game is called Burn Cycle because you have a set of chips that denote what types of actions you can take, or not technically what type of actions you can take, but if I take a purple action with a purple chip during that same action phase, I'll get a bonus. If I take a purple action while there's a green chip out there, I just get to do my purple action with no bonus type of thing. But you're continually burning through these chips. They flip over and you have to replace them, and so you're continually changing this lineup. And basically, I'm taking actions based on the chips, and then the other person's taking actions based on the chips, and then the bad guy gets to go. The corporation gets to go.
That's cool.
This is a really cool game, and at 2 players, it's nice to have. I've only played 1 player once, and like I said, 3 players might be fine. But with me having a robot and the command module that I can control, and then the other person having a robot and the command module that they can control, that gives you flexibility in what you're doing. So maybe my robot is stuck in a hiding place, and the guards are going by, and I can't do stuff with my robot, but I can run the command module, or try to get some network cards so I can beef up. So you never get stuck where your robot is, you can't do anything. You have something to do with. But
that's cool.
When both of you are running together and running the command module, you can come up with some really cool plans and stuff like this. Like, I'm going to do this with my guy and do the command module to here, and then you can take him and hack that computer and then run off, that way. So there's this really cool interaction that 2-player gives you. Obviously, 1 player, it's a puzzle that you're doing, so that's totally fine. But 2 is really cool with that cooperation.
That's cool. All right, my number 4 is a 2-player only. Onitama is 2-player only too, by the way. This one's a 2-player only, also Japanese themed, and this one has a very, very cool I cut you choose mechanism, and really, really crunchy. It's super simple. You only have 4 things that you can do over the course of this round, and you have to do all 4 of them. Your opponent has to do all 4 of them as well. This is called Hanamikoji. Very cool card game. Beautiful artwork. There is another version of it called Jishia Academy. Instead of trying to get geishas into your club or whatever it is called, you're trying to get students to come into your university or something to that effect. So that's the basically, but it's the same games. So you basically have 4 moves that you can do, and those moves are things like take 3 cards out of your hand, split them up. 2 in one pile and 1 in the other pile. Now your opponent gets to choose which one they want to take, and then you get to place the other ones. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to win over these, I think there are, 5 or 6?
I think there's 5.
5. I think there's 5 different geishas or 5 different students if you're playing Jishia Academy, and you're trying to get them to come over to your side by having the most, it's kind of like a, what is it?
Influence.
Yes, it's influence, but it's like you have to have the most influence in their, like the 2s only have 2 cards. The 3s have 3 cards. The 4s have 4 cards. The 5 have 5 cards. And you're trying to get the most power or influence, there you go, on your side of the table so that they join your group. It's really, really cool.
Really I really like this game. I still need to get a copy of it. I like the art of Hanamikoji better than that of the Jishia Academy. And it's not easy to get a hold of.
Right. I might have an extra copy.
Someday I'll get a copy of Hanamikoji for myself. This is a great game.
Yes.
This is so cool.
Absolutely agree.
It melts Mel's brain. She gets... She loves... Really? She loves... No, not in that fact, but she loves... once you get into turn angst, and
Yes.
I split you choose is
you.
very
Yeah.
so much turn angst. Like, oh, I don't want to give you these two cards. Like, it just gets to you, man. It'll get your blood just cooking.
Yep.
So
That
yeah,
is
I
absolutely
really
correct.
like this game.
That's my number 4, Hanamakoji.
That's a great pick. There are a couple of options in this category, and I didn't want to put multiple on this list. My number 4 is Oathsworn. And this stands for campaign games. I think, and I almost put ISS Vanguard on here as well, but I didn't want to put them both on there. But Oathsworn is fantastic and best at 2. I don't want to play a campaign game by myself with 4 characters.
Sure.
But with me and another person with 2 characters each, working together, trying to figure out what both of those characters are doing. These characters are fairly intricate. They have their own decks of cards. They have their own abilities. Those cards go on cooldown, which is a really cool thing to try to manage, because your good abilities, aren't always available to you. You also get to level them up. You have this mechanic where you have to. You basically burn equipment. Like, you can't go out to every combat with the same sword, because sooner or later you're going to lose that sword. So you have to be bouncing from equipment to equipment to equipment to keep yourself. To keep equipment on yourself. This is a fantastic game. It comes in 2 phases, just like ISS Vanguard and many others at this point. But Oathsworn's probably my favorite of the 2 for 2 players. For 100, just completely thinking of it that way. But this game is really cool. It comes in 2 phases. The first phase is the town phase or the exploration phase, and then the second phase is a boss battler.
Yeah.
And it's a legitimate, excellent boss battler with cool minis and all kinds of.
We need to do like a return to night.
Anytime. I just
games.
need to.
Because we play a lot of these games on the channel once, and then we have to move on, unfortunately. But we need to schedule, if we can. I don't want to get in front of family time and all that other kind of stuff, but
I still have
that's
all
something
of
to
our
kick
stuff
around.
saved on this one.
That's good.
And obviously, we have Divinus sitting on the side.
Yes,
too. But
we
this
do.
game is so freaking good. It's
I
just
agree.
so good.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Best at 2. I think most campaign games are probably best at 2. If you play it with 4, the chances of you getting the entire group together for so many sessions is very, very difficult. And it's nice just that back and forth conversation with one person sometimes, especially when it's me and Mel or me and Sam, and we're just, we understand what we're doing. So
Very cool.
I love this game.
Good pick. All right, my number 3 is also another 2-player only game. Not Japanese themed, however. We're not going to get stuck in that rut. This one is Norse mythology themed. It's called Odin's Ravens.
I knew this would be on your list.
This is such a fun game. Very simple mechanism. Odin's Ravens, and I can't remember their names. They are racing. And
Odo and Kodo.
No, that is not correct. That was Beastmaster.
I know.
And they were ferrets. Odin's ferrets. Podo and Kodo. No. So they're leaving Odin. They're racing through Midgard, and they're the first one to get back to Odin.
Doesn't
is
get eaten.
The winner. No, it's just the winner. They're going to have another race tomorrow. Whatever. And you're playing cards out of your hand to have your Raven travel across these different types of landscapes. The cards you play from your hand have to match the landscape that they're trying to traverse. The kicker is that you also have Loki cards in your deck, and the number of Loki cards that you have is finite. You only have Loki. I think there are 8 Loki cards. Once you've used all 8 of your Loki cards, you don't get to use Loki cards anymore. They don't refresh. So there are little things where you can break the rules or make it harder, change the course of the track.
Or,
a number of different things to make it harder for your opponent to make their race.
Yeah.
Really a fun game. The only downside of this game for me is that it does have a kind of a large footprint for a 2-player only game. And that is because you have to lay the cards out in a certain fashion, and if you don't have the space, well, then you can't play the game. But usually we can like do a serpentine or something to that effect, and it works out fine. But anyway, that's a minor nitpick. It's a great game. If you ever see it on the shelf, especially the designer's name is Thorsten Gimler. Osprey Games has the most up-to-date version of it, and the artwork on the Osprey Games one is really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Better than the old Cosmos line. Mm-hmm. Great game. That's my number 3, Odin's Ravens.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great game. My number 3 is, I don't want to say you don't like this game, but you don't like this game very much. You need to play it more, because lots of people love this game. This is definitely best at 2, and 2 only. Now, a lot of people play it solo. I like it best at 2. Again, it's for the same reason. I like the cooperation. I like working with somebody else to accomplish the goal. But this is Marvel Champions. In Marvel Champions, you each get a pick.
I've only played it once.
I know. I'm just... Yeah. In Marvel Champions, you each get to pick a character. At this point, I have more characters than shoes. I probably have more characters than shirts nowadays, but I definitely have more characters than shoes.
I would say most of the board games we have more characters in them than pairs of shoes that we have.
Yes.
I would imagine.
But in Marvel Champions, you each pick a character, and then you pick one of 4 deck types, whether it be protection or aggression or leadership or whatever the last one is. I can't think of it right now. The yellow deck. But you each pick one of those decks, and you mix them together with the 15 cards that your character has. You take a nemesis. You take whoever the bad guy you want to fight, Red Skull or Thanos or, even the Spider-Man characters. And the X-Men stuff is their big thing on X-Men and X-Force right now. Lots of that stuff coming out. But you take one enemy and you mix in a couple of your cards with those as well, so that things that might happen to you or crises that you might have are included in the Nemesis deck. But then you play out this scenario and you try to beat that deck, and it's really, really cool. Best at 2 for sure. 4 players. There's a lot of downtime and a lot of thinking sometimes. It's easy to get a little bit of AP going on.
That's the only way I've played it.
It's more difficult at 4 for sure, especially for the fact that the enemy gets to go more often in between each turn. So you have a long time before you get to do your cool things sometimes. So at 4 it can get long and it can get a little bit clunky, and it's hard to keep track of everything. But at 2 it really can sing back and forth as you continue to move. So
cool.
Marvel Champions.
My number 2 was the third one that I thought might be on his list, but he chose the super snooty route and just went with the brain burners.
No, I love brain burners.
This one is another game that you can play with multiple players, more than just 2, but in my opinion, it's really best at 2, and that is called Marvel Dice Throne. Marvel Dice Throne is, if you like King of Tokyo, but you just want a 2-player experience of King of Tokyo. I know they've come out with King of Tokyo Duel. I haven't played that.
Nope.
But if you like King of Tokyo and you want it to be a 2-player experience, and you already have some Dice Throne boxes sitting on your shelf, you might not need to buy King of Tokyo Duel. And again, I've not played that game.
I would kind of, that's how I feel about it.
That's how I would look at it.
Yeah.
This one is basically the same kind of thing. You're duking it. You got 2 superheroes if you're playing Marvel Dice Throne. If you're just playing like Season 1 or Season 2, you have these super buffed up characters that
are
you're
really
playing,
cool.
and they're all really cool.
Yeah,
they're all really cool. I also have Santa versus Krampus, for crying out loud. But anyway, you're rolling your dice and you're trying to get these different combinations to fire off your special abilities. And you're just trying to knock the other person down to 0 hit points before they do the same thing to you. But there's a lot of different types of combos that you can do throughout the course of the games, because each character has some tokens that are some of the tokens they can give to other people. Some of the tokens buff up their abilities. It's just a really fun game. A lot of back and forth, and the games don't really take that long either.
No.
If you have 2 players, you're probably looking at around 20 to 30 minutes max for a game of Marvel Dice Throne, or just Dice Throne in general.
Sure.
Great table presence, great artwork as well. The dice are all very well designed. Everything is just top notch with Marvel Dice Throne or just regular Dice Throne. So that is my number 2 Marvel Dice Throne.
That was also on the very, very short list. I agree with you 100%. It's just a very lighthearted,
absolutely
fun game.
Yeah.
All right. My number 2 is very similar to my number 3, and I almost didn't put both of them on the list, but I needed to. I had to, just because I had to. My number 2 is Aeon's End. Aeon's End, very much like Marvel Champions. You take a, not the same as Marvel Champions, but you take a wizard or a mage. They're called mages. You take a mage. Each of you have a mage. They have special abilities. You have these magic portals that you have to open above your mage where you cast your spells to attack the big boss, but it's the same kind of thing. You're going to have this big boss that has all these crazy powers. He has his own deck that you have to defeat, and there's a central card market where you can buy and upgrade your deck as you go with magic crystals and spells and some utility stuff. Like I said, one of the interesting thing about this game that a lot of people say is, when you do your discard pile, everything goes in your discard pile in order, and you never reshuffle your deck. So when your deck runs out, you flip it over and you keep going. So you can start to build combos and things like that inside that deck, if you're smart about it and if you do it right. But the other cool thing is if I play on my turn spells down that I really need to hit this bad guy with, those spells don't fire until it comes back to my turn again. Oh. So it's very
timing is important.
Timing is extremely important. But Aeon's End is a fantastic game. Again, it's another game where I have too many cards. I have 2 massive boxes of cards for this game. I absolutely love it.
That's cool. Do you sleeve all of them?
Yeah.
You do?
I think I've sleeved everything we play with. Yes. I don't sleeve all of the cards. Same thing with Marvel Champions is interesting because I got a bunch of unsleeved cards and sleeved cards. If I'm using them, I sleeve them. When I get character decks, they always sleeve, and enemy decks always sleeve. But like the fillers, because in Marvel Champions, you build your deck. Mm-hmm. And in Aeon's End, you have those central card markets. But when I'm using them, I sleeve them. And then when I get the next set out, I sleeve them. But yes, I sleeve them.
Yes.
Long story short.
Indeed.
Don't you remember that time when I bought? You're like, I need some sleeves for this, and I was like, okay, I have some. I just bought 1,500, and I gave you some, and then I used up the 1,500, and I bought some more. So.
Jeez Louise.
It happens.
Man alive. Number 1, if you know me, this is not going to be a surprise.
It's not a direct crossover, unfortunately.
It is not going to be anywhere near to a crossover. I don't think he likes this game very much. He has played it, and he has, I think, enjoyed it a little bit, but there are big glaring problems for it with him.
Okay.
With it for him, rather.
Yes.
Memoir 44. It's my favorite two-player game. You can play Memoir 44 as kind of like a special thing with 8 people. You can have
I don't know.
3 on each side. They're your field commanders, and then you have 2 field generals. And you can play it that way. It's called the Overlord version.
What is it, the 9th turn? I get to give you a card? There you go.
Yeah. And then you get to carry it out. It is fun. It's an epic experience, but you're just not going to play it that way very much.
No, I don't think so.
What you're normally going to be doing is you're going to be playing this 2-player, and that is where it absolutely sings. Now, the rule book says that you're supposed to play both sides of the scenario in order to complete a actual full game. Each player plays both sides of the scenarios, and whoever has the highest differential of medals at the end of those 2 games is the winner. You don't have to do that. You can just play one side, one game, whoever wins, boom, you're done. And that's what I really enjoy about this. Another thing that I really enjoy about it is the historical connection. You are actually simulating.
Rewriting history.
You can actually rewrite history. You know, this you're enacting or you're simulating actual battles from World War II, And they are not balanced scenarios, because in history they weren't balanced battles.
Sure.
You have one player that definitely has the high ground, or one player that definitely has more troops than the other person. And you're trying to do the best you can with what you had in that actual battle. That's one of the things that I liked about it as well. I love the card combat that's used. The dice resolution is another cool thing about it. It's very simple, not difficult. Line of sight isn't difficult either. It takes wargaming and puts it into a palette that a lot of people can enjoy, rather than just people who are in the military and are, retired military, whatever.
Sure.
And that's what I really enjoyed about it. It takes it takes a very palatable part of our history and puts it into a fun but also educational package. That's my number one.
I do think it's a very interesting game. I really, really, really like the cards in the lane, lane battles, and having in your hand and being limited in what you can do in the lanes. I just feel like having that much randomness in dice, on top of that, just kind of lowers it for me a bit. But,
sure.
But yes, I understand why lots and lots of people love this game. So.
Yeah.
All right, my number one, in my opinion, is best at 2 as well. A lot of people play this one solo. Again, I much prefer this one at 2, and this is Spirit Island. In Spirit Island, especially with 2, for every player you have a board, you have a piece of the island. So if I have 2 players, I have 2 pieces. If we have 3 players, you have 3. If you want to try to go with 5 players, you can have 5 and take forever. But with 2 players, you have 2 boards, but each of your spirits has strengths and weaknesses, and it really sings when, the ocean person is working with the mountain person, and you know that I can't take care of those guys over there. You have to take care of them, and you really, really have to work together to puzzle it out. You cannot do everything alone, and I really think that's where this shines the most, is when 2 of you are working together, side by side, using your strengths against the invaders. And in this game, you're basically protecting your island as spirits from invaders that are building cities and towns and stuff like that, and you're just trying to kick them off your island in whatever nature way you can do that.
We need to start doing lists that you can't put Garfield lists on it, and you can't put Spirit Island.
I didn't put, I did not put too many bones on this one. It hit the solo list, and it thought it would be way too easy, low-hanging fruit to put it on this one as well. It's very hard when you give... That's a true statement, but it's very hard when you give lists that they fit so extremely well into. So.
I get you. Same thing. It's Bang the Dice game. It fits in a lot of different categories.
I didn't put too many bones on here because it just hit the solo list. It's great at 2 players.
Very cool. Understood. All right, that's it. That's our top 5 games that play well with 2 players or are 2-player only games.
Yep.
If you missed it, we did our bottom 5. That is numbers 10 through 6 of our top 10 over on the Dice Tower. You can go check that out. It's available right here, right now. Well, right there and right now. Let us know in the comment section what you think. What did we include that we shouldn't have? What did we miss? Any number of those things. We read all of those comments, so we don't necessarily respond to all of them because that would
I try to respond to a bunch.
Yeah, that would be a part-time job in and of itself, generally speaking, but or it could be. But we do read everything, and I will give you a heart and a thumb up just for responding.
I try to respond as much as I can.
I do too, but I can't promise that I'll hit everything, because I do want to be personal about it too. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
We'll see you later.